What's up, people? Orseofkorse here, coming at you with another Dauntless video. Today I want to look at the top 3 worst armor sets I found in Dauntless so far. Now, disclaimer, this is my opinion. You may have different thoughts. And also, I'm talking about armor sets. Some of these pieces, if you use them individually, they're not bad and you can mix and match a little bit. But just as is in the armor set, these are the ones that I think are the worst. So the first armor set that we're going to look at is called the Strike Armor. So as you see here, I have the full set. I didn't level it up because it's not that great, but we're going to go ahead and look at the sell slots, and then we're going to look at it in the item shop and see what the actual perks that go along with it are. So starting with the helmet actually isn't bad. In early game, like when you're fairly new to the game, you might want to use this helmet because it's fairly easy to make, and it also comes with this slot right here that gives you Cunning, Evasive Cell, Molting Cell, Predator, and these are all pretty good. Some of these are even top tier right now, like Predator, and Molting Cells is pretty good. Grants you attack speed. Predator increases damage after avoiding attacks for a short time. The only downside with this is that if you're new to the game, it'll be kind of hard to dodge damage for a while, but Cunning isn't bad because it just grants a flat double damage when it does crit. So the helmet itself isn't too bad. It's the rest of the armor set that puts it on this list of worst armor. The rest of the cells here have nothing but mobility slots, and mobility slots aren't bad depending on what type of build you're making, but overall it's probably not the most optimal build. You could find some better builds that don't just depend on stamina, right? Like Predator, Rage Hunter, Overpower, all these things are what you're looking for, not stamina regen. And all of these have the same thing, so all mobility slots, and that is why I think that the Strike Armor is one of the worst. So as you see here in the item shop, this item doesn't have the best perks either. They're not terrible, but they're definitely not the best. So we have Bloodless, which early game might be good, especially as you're learning how to dodge and how to avoid some of these and how these effects work. But later on, it's not so much of an issue that you're probably going to be worried about. Weighted strikes can be good sometimes, but realistically, you're probably not going to be using that all that much. Evasion is pretty good if you're, it's not bad. And then evasion again, increased dodge and vulnerability window by 7%. So it's not the worst perks, but they're definitely not the best. And on top of the weak cells, it probably isn't the best armor. The next armor class we're going to look at is going to be the Stormclaw armor, and since I'm already in the shop, we're just going to look at it here. So Stormclaw has the +10 weapon charge rate, +10 weapon charge rate on the chest as well. Insulated reduces duration of shock status by 25%, which is me. And then the +3 lantern charge. So this one isn't that bad. It actually has fairly good perks. I can imagine a build where you would use the helm and the chest for sure to get that weapon charge up a little bit faster, especially for a sword build. That would be awesome. But the issue with Stormclaw is the cell slots. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So as you see here, we have the Stormclaw set here. Stormclaw looks aesthetically pleasing. Like, it's a beautiful set here. And the helm is actually not bad. As you see here, it has a technique cell. So again, that gives you the Cunning, the Evasive Fury, the Molting, Predator. These are all good. All of these I can see in a like in-game type build almost. Maybe people aren't using Evasive Fury as much, but even still, I can see that one. So the helm is actually really good. It's the rest of these that aren't great, and we're only going to look at one of them because they all have the same slot, mobility. So as you look here, mobility slots give you what? Increased movement speed when weapon is sheathed, increased stamina, increased max stamina. So not too great. So it's basically about getting more stamina or reducing the amount of stamina you use or making you move a little bit faster. So I can argue that that can be good in certain situations, but for the most part, you're going to fill those with damage if you can, right? So this is one of the reasons that Stormclaw is one of those lower tier armor sets overall. Now here we have our last armor set, and I would say that this one aesthetically is awesome as well. Like, looks beautiful. I love the way it looks, but the armor cells I think are probably the worst, and that's because they're all mobility and then one utility. Now as you look here, we've looked at the mobility cells. We know that all they do is really give you stamina or reduce the amount of cost for dodging and whatnot like that. So not great. And then if you go down here, we have a utility cell. Utility isn't a bad one to go. A lot of in-game builds use utility. It increases attack speed, percent of lantern charge, which is all fine and well at the end. So I think that's really good. So the boosts aren't bad, and I can see you using those maybe in another build if you're trying to build a little more attack speed or use more lantern charge more often. I see that, but the rest of these are not great right here. And that's why I would argue that this armor set right here, the Scrave, is probably the worst armor set in the game, I would have to say. Aesthetically, very pleasing, but other than that, not much going for it. So as we look here in the item shop, we can see what perks it actually has with it. And so following a dodge, movement speed is increased by 10%. So fleet-footed, which isn't great. Adrenaline, this one isn't bad. Grant 0.3 increased damage for every 10 stamina missing. That's not terrible. I can see in certain sword builds that might be pretty good, even a hammer build maybe. So that's not terrible, but still probably not the best perks. Warmth reduces duration of frozen status by 30%. You can avoid a lot of those frozen attacks, so that move right there, or that perk right there, isn't really that good. And then adrenaline and adrenaline again. So overall, I would say that this is probably the worst armor set. It does have its place in time, and I can see maybe using the chest and the legs in certain builds, but definitely not the head or hands. So people, that's just my opinion. I would like to hear down in the comments what you think the best and worst armor sets are, and if you would use any of these pieces in certain builds, because I've been mixing and matching certain pieces to come up with the type of perks that I like, and it seems to be working pretty well. So I would like to know what you think. If this video helped you at all, make sure to drop a like, subscribe for more Dauntless content, and we will see you in the next video. Peace, 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 peace.